In this video, I'm going to be talking about why I got a hair transplant. Do I regret the results? And I honestly just really wanted to share exactly how a hair transplant works, because it's one of the craziest experiences I've ever been through. First, I think it's important to share the why. I wanted to share my experience, especially for men, because I know talking about insecurities, it's not necessarily a norm. In my early 20s, I had pretty rapidly thinning hair, and these crown areas here, a lot of hair loss as well. And ever since I started YouTube in December of 2022, watching myself back on camera, videos, you honestly realize how quickly and how much hair loss that you do have. It can honestly be quite a depressing feeling. Before that time, I never really contemplated getting an actual hair transplant until I watched a YouTube video from Sunnyside, best food review show ever, and he got one, eventually where I got one. To be able to have feedback, especially in video format, especially from someone you've watched and you've trust, it really helped me feel comfortable with getting surgery. So if this helps you in any way, awesome. So just before I dive into exactly what a hair transplant looks like, the why, it really is, I just don't like the way I look bald. Now, I don't know if you can notice, but I have quite a big head, a big forehead, quite an uneven head in and around as well. And I've tried going bald or almost bald once before, and I just wasn't happy with the results. And at the end of the day, we have quite short lives, so I want to live it to, my fullest and be the happiest, and that is with a solid lock of hair. Now, onto the surgery. I did get mine in Bangkok, Thailand, and obviously never having had any kind of surgery before, not even braces as a kid, I had no idea what I was going to expect. But what did happen was very interesting. The place was incredible as well. They allowed me to film the behind the scenes of exactly what happened, which is what I'm going to share with you now. And they didn't pay me to make this video as well. I'm making it out of my own curiosity, my own interest, and something I wanted just to share with you guys, because you guys might be in my situation and you're very curious and thinking about getting one as well. First bit, consultation. Now, this was probably the easiest and smoothest part, even though it really isn't. Before the procedure, you sit down with the doctor. They'll explain essentially how the procedure will go. But what's very interesting is they sort of explain what could go wrong as well. And at this moment, it puts a little bit of fear and doubt into your mind. A bunch of things could go wrong, such as your body or your head actually rejecting the implanted hair. You could suffer from severe hair shock syndrome, where the regrowth does not look great at all, leaving you looking probably worse than when you even walked into the joint.
Let's see right now. Man, what the fuck? Oh, no. Man, let go, man.
If you don't follow the aftercare, taking the necessary pills and tablets and sprays that they do provide, it could not turn out exactly how you want it. So these three things, it definitely can plant a seed of doubt in your mind. And do know that this is a 12-month process. At the time of recording, I think it's around about just before that 12-month mark of when I had the surgery. So we can give you a solid review of how it's turned out at the end. After the consultation, the documents have been signed. It's time for the preparation phase. And this is definitely something super strange. So with the doctor and some interns, you'll be defining where you want the hairs to go exactly. And I had quite severe hair loss, especially around the corners, which just looked ridiculous. So they're just figuring out where we want to put them so it looks natural and how we want to plant them in as well. And I knew this place was super professional because the way that they're describing how they're going to implant the hairs, so it's sort of on an angle, so my hair is naturally curved, like it has been for as long as I can remember. I've heard terrible stories of places just putting it in straight and then the hair is super off balance and the end product does just not look good. Funniest thing is they're drawing out your hairline and you're just sitting there thinking, okay, how's this actually going to turn out? You've got some interns in there as well, and they're sort of honestly just judging your hairline, seeing how it looks, asking you questions, what do you think? And I'm just praying to God that they know what they're doing, which eventually, as you can tell, they did a great job. Next is the procedure. Now, this was not necessarily fun at all. If you're squeamish, you might want to skip the next bit, to be honest. Now, first, they'll take this little machine and they'll start punching little holes into your scalp where they're going to be implanting the hair eventually. Now, this feels super, super weird, to be honest. But the great thing is you do get a Valium and they numb your head. So your head sort of bubbles up, and once they start punching, it doesn't necessarily hurt, but you do feel a drill going in or some sort of thing going in and poking your head. Next is an even crazier sensation. It's the drill punching machine. So essentially, the back of your head is numbed as well. And what they do is, imagine this little microphone, that is your hair. They get the machine and they plop, plop, pull out your hair follicles. And once again, it's numbed, but you're feeling something going in and essentially taking a little bite out of your head, really, at the back, and pulling out your hair. They extracted 3,500 hair follicles out of the donor area, which is at the back, and that is the suggested or the highest maximum that you would want to take out per session, essentially, because I had quite a severe hair loss. Step 3 is now the transplant of those donor hairs. So it's sort of like a conveyor belt. You've got 3 or 4 people working, putting the hairs that they've just taken out into a little scalp or some sort of little drill-like stick, and then the main doctor starts to implant the donor hairs into where they've punched the holes in earlier. Overall, this took about 8 to 10 hours. Now you can get a break in between, but I just thought I'm just push through. I want to get over this. And at the end of it, it is crazy. Honestly, it's absolutely crazy. My head is completely covered in blood. They do wipe it down, but you can still see the patches, sort of bruising. It looks like you've been beaten up with a baseball bat all over your head. And you're just sitting there looking at yourself in the mirror and going, what the hell have I just done? This surgery looks absolutely nuts. Guys, check it out. Post-op. It sort of started to hurt in the end, especially when the anesthesia and the Valium was wearing off. But I'm hella tired. At the end of that surgery, they give you a meal. And they just go through what you need to do over the next 24 hours just to make sure that it's okay and your head sort of gets cemented. You don't ruin anything before you come in again the next day for a little checkup and a hair wash. Morning, guys. Just wanted to give you guys a little update, a little bit of a check-in. This is what it looks like pretty much, I want to say 12 hours after. Around about that. But I did have to sleep with this bandage on. I look like a sushi chef. But they keep this padding on because your head's still a little bit swollen from whatever they've injected the day before. And I had a shock of a sleep. I even took some Valium and some painkillers, but that didn't do the trick because you've got to sleep on your back, and I'm a side sleeper. So that was super annoying. Hopefully today's a lot better. But in terms of today, I'll be heading off to the clinic again just for them to show me how to properly wash my hair. They're going to sort of shampoo my hair, clean it off. And just before you head off, you have to wear this bandana, this samurai, this sushi chef bandana as well, in a very specific way to make sure that when you're outside, dust doesn't go onto your hair. So you want to make sure this black bit here is where the forehead is and below that white line, and then it gives it space for the hair before to breathe. Today I went back to the doctor. Firstly, they teach you how to wash your hair. So it's a very specific way to make sure that you don't damage the hair follicles. You want to wash the hair with very low pressure, and then you want to bubble little shampoo bubbles onto your head, not scrubbing it, because that's just probably going to absolutely damage your head. After that, sat down with the doctor again, and you just want the doctor to say, hey, this turned out perfect, and thankfully it did. Shalom. No, I've actually got this on as laser. So I've just had the hair wash. Everything looks good. Get some slight pain at the back once you take the bandage off, but otherwise everything was sweet. It's just now using the laser for recovery of the wounds. So we're just healing up now. Very good. Over the next 1 to 2 weeks, ideally they want you to stay in Thailand just so you can do checkup again. And the great thing is, honestly, this place is so hospitable. It's not sponsored or they haven't paid me, but the staff there are absolutely incredible. They said, come back in every single day. If you're still in Thailand, we'll wash your hair. We can check it up daily, give you more little goodies if you need to go to sleep and what have you. And thankfully with my job being able to travel, YouTube, whatever, I ended up staying in Thailand for an entire month actually. But at that week 2 point mark, you head back in again for another checkup. And by this time, your head is sort of really hardened. It's really cemented. You've got little scabs everywhere. Just like if you fell down, you'd have a scab on your knee or your elbow. It's the exact same thing on the top of your head. And it feels absolutely weird. So at that week 2 check mark, I'm back in there and they're washing my head, taking off all the scabs. So just good to stay in Thailand if possible and have that additional service. Now the next phase is super important, and it's essentially the entire healing process. It is a long-term thing. So within the first 3 to 6 months, I was honestly looking like an absolute ugly duckling. And it would have been worse if I didn't follow their aftercare. Within the first 30 days, no drinking, which I'm not a big drinker anyways. No exercise for the first 30 days or so, which is a little bit annoying, but it's just because the sweat might irritate your head and it might ruin some of the regrowth. So I was just going for little walks so I didn't feel like a complete slob. And the super important thing is taking the provided tablets, supplementations, the sprays. And I'll be honest, I was on some painkillers for the first 2 weeks as well because the sleeping was just so hard, so irritating. So the aftercare for the first 3 months is super, super pivotal. And thankfully, with the nature of my job, traveling around the world, I have a lot of footage from traveling overseas. So I can sort of see the progress of my hair really just grow back to what it is now, which is quite nice. Over the next 2 months, I was in countries like Malaysia, Vietnam. So if you follow my series, you can see I started wearing a hat a hell of a lot. And that's really, you want to protect it from the sun within those first 3 months. And Southeast Asia is bloody hot. So you want to protect it as much as possible. I just popped on a hat. I started doing little barber videos just to actually just track the growth of the hair more thoroughly. And you can see one in Vietnam where I was getting a haircut there. You can see that little baby hairs were starting to grow, but you couldn't really see it. It still looked like I had those crowns missing. The weird thing is, over those 3 to 6 months, you actually get hair loss. So those implanted hairs start to fall out, but it's nothing to freak out over because they fall out and then new hair, stronger hair starts to grow. Around about that 5 to 6 month mark, I was in India and Nepal, and I've got some more footage, and you can really see the hairline starting to come through. You can sort of see it a lot more, which is great. The hair starts to be a lot more thicker around those crown areas as well. It's been 5 to 6 months since when I was last in Nepal, so you can see now the hair is a lot more thick. The hairline is actually there. I don't look like an absolute freak. The hair is a lot stronger now, and I've since stopped all the medication. I'm not on things like finasteride anymore. Finasteride and minoxidil are actually great solutions without getting a hair transplant, and they do suggest to stay on finasteride long term. I don't know how long term is, but is that for the rest of your life? I just don't feel comfortable taking medication essentially just every single day. But because I've had severe hair loss for a hell of a long time in my early 20s, so I might in future get an additional one when, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years, or I might jump back on finasteride just to help with the hair loss. The total price, mine came to around about 4,000 USD as well, and that's because you pay per amount of hair follicles or hair grafts that you take out from the donor and transplant and implant into the front, and I got the maximum. But for something that's gonna probably last a lifetime, it is well worth it. Thinking about it, and then during the process, when your hair starts to fall out, honestly, I had a lot of loss of confidence, physical appearance. I would always want to wear a hat around, and to now, honestly loving the hair that I have, it's an absolute complete 180. So I absolutely love the results, and just the nature of my job, being on camera a lot, it's just really nice for me to know that I'm comfortable and confident on camera, and when I turn to the sides, I'm not feeling insecure. It's just the little things. It's the nature of the job, so it's a different feeling than if you weren't looking at yourself constantly on video. This isn't a commercial, this isn't a plug. I just really wanted to share my experience, the pains that you do go through, just so you guys, if you're ever thinking about getting something like this, to be honest, the more I was thinking about it, women get a lot of things done. Men, we don't really get as much things done. You might get your teeth fixed, and the other non-really invasive thing is honestly just the hair transplant. At the end of the day, it's really not a big thing. If you want to get it done, get it done. So I just wanted to share my experience, and if it helps one of you guys feel a lot more comfortable getting something like this, because insecurities and judgment can be a very big downfall in men, and we don't necessarily talk about it. So if this has helped you in any single way, if you even want to reach out in the comments or whatever and ask about further information, happy to help. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and let me know what you think.